Well, what is creativity? It's joining dots. It's taking existing information and configuring it in different ways. Einstein was hugely creative. He reconfigured all the math and the physics information that he had in order to come up with the theory of relativity. He didn't invent any of that stuff. He joined it together to invent something new. And that's what it's all about. And that takes creativity. Judith, I know you create clear thinking and decisive leaders. I'm curious, though, what clarity has got to do with innovation?
That's a really good question. You need to find out what the context is of the situation. What's the real problem? Because people often come with the need to innovate from the symptom of something rather than the actual cause of the problem.
I create clear thinking and decisive leaders who can amplify their influence. Contact me to find out how I can help you or your organisation.
Welcome to the Maverick Paradox panel on innovation. At the Maverick Paradox, we strategize, innovate, and execute to catalyse transformation. We do this by utilising Maverick leadership principles to enable individuals, business owners, and organisations to thrive in complex, shifting environments. So today's panel is made up of Maverick Paradox Media's featured columnists, and I thought it would be fun to look at innovation through the lens of their expertise. First, let me introduce you to David Chislett. Hi, Dave.
Good day. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, Dave is a seasoned speaker, trainer, and writer with over 25 years of experience in the creative industry. David specialises in unleashing creativity as a pathway to change. Through his engaging content and thought-provoking insights, David invites readers to explore the world through a different lens and ignite their creative spark.
So, Dave, can you tell me about innovation and creativity? Because I know that you empower individuals with creativity to thrive amidst all sorts of change. So what can you share about creativity and innovation?
Well, the way I see all of this is that creativity is the process that underlines the product of innovation. So anybody who wants to innovate needs to be able to think of great new ideas and to find different ways to connect all of the information they have at their disposal. Innovation is about making things new, and so is creativity. I think what often happens, though, is that people think creativity has only got something to do with art. And so when they're thinking about innovation, they tend to really think more about, real super rational process-driven ways of getting things done instead of the more creative, high ideation. Let's just put a marker on the horizon and figure out how we'll get there later. So when dealing with people in innovation environments, that's my focus, to help them jump the tracks and look higher and further without worrying too much about how we're going to get there in order to come to the new ideas. And only once we've got those great, big, crazy ideas to then focus on, all right, let's talk about how we get there.
Okay, that sounds really good. So does that mean that anybody is innovative?
Anybody is potentially innovative because everybody is creative. I draw the distinction because to innovate is also quite a specific skill set, and not everybody has it. But you can acquire it because you are creative. It's about the framing, it's about the knowledge, and it's about having the processes at your disposal. So yes, potentially anybody can innovate because everybody is creative.
That is so interesting because I'm clearly wrong. Because my perspective would have been the other way round, thinking that almost anyone can create something or innovate something from what's there, but creativity comes from a different place. So you'll need to school me, David, because I'm clearly wrong.
Well, what is creativity? It's joining dots. It's taking existing information and configuring it in different ways. Now, you can do that in an artistic environment. You can do that in a business environment. You can do that in a technical environment. Einstein was hugely creative. He reconfigured all the math and the physics information that he had in order to come up with the theory of relativity. He didn't invent any of that stuff. He joined it together to invent something new. And that's what it's all about. And that takes creativity.
All right. Okay. So I know that there's lots of creativity workshops, and that's something that obviously that you do. Is there an equivalent for innovation then? Because I don't hear people talking about let's teach how to innovate.
No, they tend to talk about creating an innovation culture, creating a vessel, a space in which innovation can occur, which is fantastic because that's hugely important, having the right kind of environment to innovate in, where you're allowed to fail, where you're allowed to experiment and all of those kinds of things. I think it would help if any innovation culture workshopping included a component on how to access your creativity better so that you've got something to experiment with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what would you like to leave with the audience in terms of a takeaway around creativity and innovation?
I think it's really important to realize that the way we do things today is just the way we do things today. It doesn't mean anything for the future, and quite often it actually means nothing about the past, which means that it's temporary. And we will move past it sooner or later because technology is introducing so many new factors into everyday processes that the business models attached to it will be forced to change. Why not just let go of all of that stuff right now so that you can get ahead of the curve instead of getting a whack on the head later when it eventually catches up with you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, Judith.
Let me introduce you to Josuel Rogers, who is a life and executive coach, speaker, and podcast host. Josuel merges coaching and hip-hop culture to inspire meaningful connections and authentic leadership with a passion for diversity and empowerment. Josuel empowers individuals to embrace their unique strengths and lead with integrity. So, Josuel, I know that you're a culture and communication catalyst who nurtures enriched dialogue amongst individuals and teams and fosters enhanced connections within and improving personal leadership. But what I'm really interested in is for you to tell me how hip hop and innovation coincide. How does that work?
Ooh, how does it coincide? Hip hop is innovation. It's a whole culture thing. So from innovation there, what is innovation? Innovation is taking the tools that you have and making something new out of it. So that's basically also how hip hop started. Someone took a record and decided, hey, you know what? We don't have to play the whole record. This little piece of the record is going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And everybody's going to enjoy their evening just listening to these couple of seconds. And from there, that just springboarded everything. And those little things on, hey, let's take a little minute, a couple of seconds out of a record is actually the same thing we do in every type of innovation. We look at what it is. It could be something small and it could be like, hey, how can this be improved? Or how can we use this in another way, in another manner? And that's almost all the basic connection already.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, I know that you use hip hop when you work with your clients. So I'm assuming you don't just play a record. So how do you take that culture and show that innovation so like a corporate client can then use it? What do you do?
So what we actually do is we have actually the clients create their own innovation. We use the culture of within the company. So we look at what's going on in the company, and then the creative aspect of hip hop. We use that as a means to trigger another half of a brain to look at something in a different way. So that could be with taking particular dance steps, exercises, and then linking that to, hey, what's going on in the company, in the business? What is the challenges they're facing? So that they look at it from a different perspective and in a different lens. So actually catalyzing a different type of thought process. And from there, you get the aha moments. You get the, hey, I didn't know there was a dot there. So let me try and draw a line to that dot. And from there, get the ball a little bit rolling, that they go to a different thought process.
Okay. So it's about looking at innovation from a jumping point. Because I know like on LinkedIn, I've seen like pictures of workshops you do, and you've got people, it looks like almost like graffiti, using that as a way of looking at their mission plans and stuff like that. And is it that kind of fusion of song, dance, art that opens the mind to innovation. Is that what you're doing?
You basically summarize it perfectly. It's song, dance, art. Let's say I'm going to use poetry, rap. So it's combining all aspects of the hip hop culture and then taking aspects of the business culture and melding them together. So that in that way, they look at it in a different way. It sparks new thoughts. You get new type of conversations, which is actually the most important thing. I mean, if you look at innovation, if you look at how we learn stuff, we learn from each other. Everyone has a different perspective, and bringing those perspectives together brings about a spark of creativity, new innovation. So it's basically it's a team effort. It's a culture effort.
How do you get people to innovate with these different ways of working? Because I'd imagine if you turned up and said to me, I need to draw. In fact, I've been in workshops when you have to draw stuff and I'm like, And I actually find it harder to innovate because I don't know if it's because I just worry about my drawing.
So what we do, let's say from a drawing aspect, I mean, not everyone can freehand draw. So I also have a little stuff to help them out. So maybe a little template from, hey, maybe you could use this template, but also that's already a choice, and that's already a choice that you can discuss with each other. You can talk about with each other. And then from there you go for the colors. Hey, why do you choose a color? What's the idea behind of that? So all of that is conversations that lead to little aha moments. It could be someone colors something in a specific way, a specific pattern comes out, and someone sees something in a pattern. It could be, for example, a camouflage pattern, or it could be someone, maybe they make stripes like a zebra. It's all onto the individual, and then the conversation with each other leads to, so that's how you look at it. Okay, maybe, hey, that's how you see me. That's how you see the problem that we're facing. And from there, you go about conversating different. Everyone has maybe a new opinion and at least a different vision.
Brilliant. Thank you. So I think I get it. So it's about using the immersiveness of hip hop to open the mind and to help you to innovate by looking at different things from different perspectives.
Open the mind, open the connection, even more important, to increase the collaboration. Like hip hop is also a collaboration culture. And if you look at teams, it's also all about collaborating. There's no business that stands on its own with just one person.
Brilliant. Josuel, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Judith Germain, a multi-award winner and leading authority on Maverick leadership, is renowned for defining Maverick leadership since 2005. With her extensive experience as a consultant, mentor, trainer, and speaker, Judith empowers leaders to embrace willful independence and transform the future. She is also the founder of Maverick Paradox Media and hosts the Maverick Paradox podcast, exploring unconventional leadership insights. Judith, I know you create clear thinking and decisive leaders. I'm curious, though, what clarity has got to do with innovation?
That's a really good question. I think if you think about innovation, it's all about creating something new from what's there before. And clarity comes right at the beginning. You need to find out what the context is of the situation. What's the real problem? Because people often come with the need to innovate from the symptom or something rather than the actual cause of the problem. So for me, clarity actually gets right back to first principles, right back to the actual problem. Once we're clear on what the problem is and so it starts from the beginning, and then you look at what's required at the end. So what does success look like? So you know the beginning and what the end is, then you can innovate, because you need, and it sounds funny from a socialized maverick talking about structure and boundary, but you need the boundaries so that you can actually innovate beyond the boundaries. You need to know what's in scope, what's not in scope, and then you can innovate around that.
Right. So a willfully independent maverick is going to listen to the boundaries to come up with enough clarity to innovate, or is the risk that they're just not?
You can't push against a boundary if you don't know what it is. Socialized Mavericks is all about, and Maverick leadership is all about breaking the right rules, not breaking the rules for the sake of breaking the rules are. So first you have to establish what the rules are, then you establish whether they're worthwhile keeping, and then you establish what you're going to do next.
Right. Okay. So if innovation is all about creating new stuff out of what we already have, aren't we in danger of just cannibalizing the world and ending up with weaker and weaker iterations of the same old, same old?
You know what? That would be the case if you forgot that the Maverick twist, which is that innovation from a Maverick leadership perspective isn't just following a linear progression. There is nothing creative out of that. There's nothing innovative out of that, really. Maverick leadership is all about taking those intuitive leaps. That's the looking at things from differently. So whilst you are innovating from what's there before, to clarify, you're innovating from many different data points from many different areas. So it's not like, here's a process, what comes next? Yes, that's innovation. A Maverick leader is looking at that and going, yeah, but if I thought about how a ballerina does this and how a baseball player does this and how manufacturing does that, and I take one thing from each of that, put that together, here is my innovation. So I guess I should have clarified a bit strongly there, is that from my perspective, innovation is not a linear progression. It is about innovating from lots of data points, from lots of industries, and coming up with something new that is truly innovative based on what, the term for innovation is.
From a Maverick perspective, is innovation always about growth, about just more?
Oh, I like that. Is it about just more? So I'll just tell you what my gut reaction would be no, it's about getting it done. So innovation might actually mean doing less and making something way more simpler. Because sometimes people get super excited about having a great strategy, but not about executing that strategy, or having something that looks new and interesting that doesn't actually change anything. So innovation isn't always about more. Sometimes it's about less, but it will be about something that's different, purposeful, and useful.
Do you think it's possible to innovate without Maverick?
Yeah, it'd be a linear progression of what was there before.
Which you just said isn't innovation.
It's what lay people would class as innovation. I think that real innovation comes from seeing something new in what you're trying to innovate, what you're trying to create. But that's how I see it. That's not how everybody sees innovation.
So for anybody who's watching this who, is involved in innovation somewhere along the line and doesn't fancy themselves as a maverick, what advice would you give them?
I would say you don't need to be a maverick by personality, but you can be a maverick leader. And that's about looking at things from a different way. It's about making sure you execute over implementation. So I think if the world was full of mavericks, it would burn and not work too well. But a world full of maverick leaders, empowering other leaders, empowering to see the world from different perspectives, that would be amazing. Let me introduce you to Astrid Davies, who is an executive coach and change consultant with 30 years of leadership experience. Astrid guides individuals and organizations towards ethical and impactful practices. With a focus on sustainable leadership, Astrid integrates several of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals into her client projects, fostering inclusion and sustainable organizational cultures. Astrid, I know that you make sustainable ethical leadership easier, but I'm interested, how does that relate to innovation?
There's two different parts to it. One part is innovation in ethics and sustainability. And then the other part is the innovation within the ethics and sustainability. In other words, they're two halves of the same whole.
Mm-hmm.
If we start with innovation within the world of ethics, you might think that that's a bit old hat. And some people think when I talk about leadership and ethical leadership, it's a bit po-faced and a bit sort of, oh, well, I'm more ethical than other people. It's not about that. It's about doing the right thing. It's why being part of the Maverick family is so important to me, because it is about doing the purposeful thing, the thing that benefits most people. And sometimes what has been done before may well have been right for then, but is no longer current. So there needs to be re-innovation, if you like, a revision of that innovation, just revisiting, making sure that you're not missing a trick, because there are a lot of new things under the sun.
Brilliant. So, Astrid, I'm really curious about sustainability in terms of leadership, because it feels like to make it work, you need to be super innovative, but it looks like nobody wants to be innovative to make it work. So what's your thoughts on that?
Is that the truth? I think that people want to be innovative because they are working in a space of growth.
Mm-hmm.
And by growth, I mean economic growth. The difficulty with sustainability is that those two things are long-term at odds, it is argued. I think it's really easiest for the innovation to be built in along the way to make sure that you're losing every opportunity you can for disparity, inequality. You're leveling up the playing field wherever you can, so that more people can benefit from the innovation and the creativity that will be necessary for that innovation, and the other things that will enable them to do as well. Because innovation, not being linear for Mavericks, is around pulling things together from all different directions. One of the beauties of sustainability is that it does enable us to borrow ideas from all over the place, to simplify, but also to cut down on waste. And one of the things that I do when I work with leaders is not just look at the leadership behavior in the development, but also how can you be less wasteful and make better use of what you've got.
Thank you for that. I had a bit of a naughty thought, actually, because I was thinking about ethical leadership in the sense that it used to be quite the fad, and then COVID hit, and then everyone forgot about being ethical in terms of that is a thing to concentrate on. And I'm thinking there's a lot of innovation in people appearing to have ethical leadership. So how can you really be an ethical leader and innovate?
I think the innovation has to be borne in mind within parameters that have already been established to be worthwhile. I use United Nations Sustainable Development Goals because they're out there, they're public domain, it's easy to define them, and they're not me coming up with them necessarily. The purpose of the innovation, if it's purpose driven just for its own sake, I would argue that that's not guaranteed to be ethical. Now, we can look at all different definitions of ethics, and ethics as a concept is hardly new. Plato, Socrates, it's been around a while. But there is something really important about taking the opportunity of horizon scanning and seeing how best to do something, to innovate in a way that benefits the most people. I'm keen on it being the win around, win-win-win. The win-lose, where people are disenfranchised or disadvantaged because of an innovation, I have to say I start questioning the ethics of that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Astrid.
The Maverick Paradox magazine. The Maverick Paradox magazine is for the pathologically curious. Written by a swagger of socialized mavericks who are divergent thinkers, the magazine tackles the biggest issues affecting maverick leaders today. You might be a business owner or a leader within an organization who wants to have your thinking challenged, to be exposed to a diversity of thought, or to learn from diverse experts in their fields. If so, the Maverick Paradox magazine is for you. Join the swagger at themaverickparadox.com and engage in the conversation.